crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself, I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself, I don't wanna live in a world without you. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. Without you, driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself, I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just too. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just too. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself, I don't wanna live in a world without you. Give it to me like world without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself, I don't wanna live without you.
Morning everyone, hope all is good. Looks like a proper shady day out there. I must admit I've got no intentions of doing that, and so I decided I'm going to be homebound again today because I didn't want to go out and do some chores. I've done plenty of chores yesterday, so why have I got to bloody do them today? My wife can do the shopping today. I'm just making sure she's gone. I don't know if she is yet, actually. Well, if I end up with a black eye, you'll obviously know why. Yeah, it looks like a bloody horrible day out there. Again, I mean, this is meant to be the summer, for God's sake. I'm not seeing any sun out there. So, oh well, good old England. So, hope everyone's okay. Just been reading through the stuff this morning. The reason I don't book my show, I should be booking the shows like from last night to say I'm going to do them at 10 o'clock today, whatever else. As the season starts, rolls in, I will be doing that and I will be more consistent. But at the moment, you don't know what's going to get said in the morning. So you could put down a show that you're going to talk about this, this and this, and nothing actually happens. But I suppose at Spurs you can always vouch there's always some bullshit going on somewhere, isn't it? So give me a second to bloody light on since it's gone dark outside. And I now have a light in my room. Well, one of the main things I read this morning, which I must admit, give me a bit of a shock, really. I mean, what does it take to satisfy some people? What does it take for some people to just be happy? We all know Spurs supporters, we can all be miserable bastards, and then some of us can all be all high and mighty. I mean, that is the pleasure of being a Spurs fan. But this, what I read this morning, I'm going to stick up for something I wouldn't usually stick up for. And for me, it's pretty... I think it's pretty poor, actually. Right, so I'm going to say hello to a few on the sides. LTL Cockerel, Jose, morning Dan, and all you chatters. Morning, mate. Hope you're doing good for yourself. Pleasure doing a show with you yesterday on Alan's one. And Scott, good evening from Australia, everyone. God, Australia, what's the time out there? I mean, I know there's a good 12-hour difference on us and that. And Chris Richardson, morning, mate. Morning to you too. Old fellow I used to go to college with. Yes, he is an Arsenal supporter. But I suppose there's one ball every minute. And Lisa Davis, how you doing? I hope all's good. Morning, Dan. All in the chat. Hope you're all good. Hope you're great too. Anthony Clark, AFC, always on here, mate. Always good to see you again, even though you're an Arsenal fan. And big up, Dan. Hope you're good, mate. Tony Rodriguez, how are we doing, fella? Good morning, Dan, and the chat. And with us, we also have just a harmless potato. Good morning, Europe. Good evening, Australia, Asia, and everybody else in the world out there. Good morning to you too. Rob Belcher. That's what happens when you got two buttons on the bloody mouse and you click one of them on the side. Sorry about that. So I'll have to scroll back up there. Getting back to the point. Rob Belcher, morning all you HotspurHooders. Hope you're good. Hope you're good as well, mate. Haven't heard from you in a little while. Hope everything's going good for you at home. Top fella, like I've said to people, he was the one who got me to carry on doing this. And yeah, without the push he gave me, to tell the truth, I probably wouldn't have continued. So big up to you, Rob. And Mark Cousins, big up to you. Big up, Dan. Big up to you too, mate. And then there's Jose saying good morning to everybody. Lewis K, big up to you too. And just a harmless potato, big up to Jose and big up to Dan, of course, naturally. And everyone just saying hello. And Joseph Tyler, morning, pal. How are you? I'm all right, apart from that crap weather outside. Now I've turned the bloody light on. A bit of the sun's come out. It's England, isn't it? It's just as screwed up as Spurs, really. And Pete, how you doing? 7:20 p.m. in Melbourne. Cool. That is a big old time difference. And Dingo Yid, morning, boss. Morning to you too. Beth, morning husband, morning wife. Hope you're enjoying the shopping. Donna Cullen, Wagwan, Mr. Dan, Wagwan, Miss Donna Cullen. And L2, where you gone? You're a magician. Yep, I clicked basically as I went forward like that. Yeah, I clicked the wrong side of the mouse and it took me back a bit. So let's get to this point, yeah. Daniel Levy. I know it's not going to be a show on Daniel Levy, so don't worry about it. But it's the first point, which I think is a major one that I want to bring up. And we all know the man has been an excellent football chairman, but a totally disgrace on the side of football. We all know this crap. I mean, come on, tell me something I don't know. But he's meant to have actually took a severe grilling from not the Levy outlaw, but the Levy in-law. So the rumours are saying. I mean, we know it's all rumours all over internet and everything. You can only talk about what you read, basically. Whether it's all true or not, you just never, ever seem to know. But you know what? This one just really wouldn't surprise me. Quite a few of the Levy in-law, as it says on the few pages that I read, are meant to actually be totally grilling the man for letting players go for free. Like Tanganga. A lot of people, and I've read quite a few things on Facebook and other things than that, people seem to be a bit upset that he's let Ndombele go for free. Yeah, just keep that quiet for a minute. What are people grilling him for letting Ndombele go for free? For once, He's made the right decision on a business point of view, and he's also made the right decision on a football point of view. And Ndombele is useless. He's crap. Even though he's won 2 titles in the past 2 years, which is just fucking comical. But Levy has done the right job there. I mean, because even if he keeps Ndombele there, you know he's going to be toxic in the back. He's going to be toxic in the bloody back room and everything. He's just going to be a pain in the ass. He's going to cause trouble. Get him out. That is what we've been screaming for. But it's meant to actually have been the main Levy supporters that have been grilling him for letting him go for free. Whereas us Levy Outlaw, that doesn't count for everybody on the side, I know. But when I say us Levy Outlaw, I mean like me, Alan, Ben, Stell, Has, and the list can just go on and on and on. So forgive if I've missed names, but there is a massive list on it. Tommy, Eugene, you know, I can list a few. We're all like, do you know what? Well done, Levy. Fair play. Credit where credit is due at the end of the day. You're still a top prick, fella, but well done. And it's the ones who support him all the way, usually, that are the ones that are going right down his throat. And to me, that shows one thing, and one thing only. That just shows how much even more divided this club is. Because you've got people sitting about him for doing what he's done because we've lost money on it. Now, nobody wants to see Spurs get knocked, whatever else and that. No, we don't. But at the end of the day, what do you care? It's not your money. They're spending it. Yeah, we care when we pay for tickets, this, and this, and we get crap and everything else. But at the end of the day, it's always them spending the money. It's them losing the money. And it's the Levy likers that are really going down his throat because he's lost money on Ndombele, saying that he should have sold him for 5 million at least, got a penny out of him. You wouldn't have even been able to sell the player for that. I mean, he's on 200 grand a week, for God's sake. I mean, there's phrases I could use for him, but they're considered phobic if I use them these days. Same as everything is. If you've got a different opinion to someone, you're always phobic to it or whatever. But he's made the right decision. He's got the fella out, and it's his own bloody supporters that are giving him this shit for it. And it's the majority of us lot and the Levy out lot saying, fair play, mate. You even had Brian, of all people, on here yesterday saying, you know what, Levy? Okay, credit where it's due. You got that one right. Well done. Of all people. And then he gets his own lot grilling him because he's like letting Ndombele go for free. I mean, for me, that just shows another split in this split personality football club that we have, where it has about 7 or 8 different personalities. I don't know, maybe 10, maybe 12, who knows. That there's definitely one side that are more than money orientated. When they're going to complain for the fact that he didn't get 5 mil for Ndombele, people, just shut the fuck up. Let him go. He's crap. We all know he's crap. So we don't want him. And Levy knows he ain't selling him. So for once, he's doing the smart move on just cutting his losses and letting it go. And it's his own lot that have gone down his neck. You do have to sort of think in a way, what actually has that man got to do? Well, he's got to do a lot. But anyway, Mike Rose. Damn, reliable Italian sources are claiming Arsenal are preparing a 90 million bid for Oshman. And what are we doing? That is a good point. I see that as well. Now, Oshman had an all right season last year at Napoli. Napoli definitely didn't live up to standards. But Oshman didn't have as much of a great season as he did the season before. I mean, he did have a good season, but it was nowhere near what it was the season before that. Nothing close. Oshman, he's going to be a lucky one if he leaves, because the problem he's got in his case is the Napoli fans and that, and they're nothing like the fans over here. Over here, you might get something thrown at your head or whatever, maybe once in a blue moon. Over there, you have people turning up with sawn-offs, taking your wife away from your doorstep. Slightly different situation. And he, like, so it says on news and rumours and whatever, he has basically been told, you step out of this club without this club's permission, or you fight to get out of this club, you're not going to see your wife again for a long time. I don't know what the situation is with his and his wife. Maybe that might not bother him. But I'd say a general person, it would. But then you just never know with relationships these days. They can be so shady and whatever. I mean, one day you can be like, just have that argument and you think, you know what, just turn up with a shotgun and take her. But another day it's like, no, I don't know. He might have a good relationship. But I don't think Arsenal paid that get hold of him, because I don't think Arsenal paid wages. That's what it comes down to on that one. Now, he's not a mega high at Napoli. I can't remember the exact amount they say he's on, but it's blatantly been made clear that where he's rated like one of the top 4 free strikers on the planet at the moment, that wherever he goes, he wants like 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 pounds a week. Well, mate, keep on looking. I don't think Arsenal are going to do that. Would Arsenal pay the 90 mil for him? Sure, they would. They've just proved that they do it with Declan Rice. And if you look at Arsenal, all they need is that bloody striker. And they need a few other people to tweak up that squad, basically. Tweak it, twerk it, whatever you want to call it. And it's one I could definitely see him wanting. But, mate, I don't see that going through purely for the wages. And Dingo, can you make Levy vanish, mate? If I could, I would. Bang, he's gone. Mind you, these days, you just never know, do you? Ben, morning everyone. Big up to you, Ben. Hope everything's good. Hope you're doing good coffee. Hope it's better than my coffee. Even though that's not a bad one. I mean, I don't know about anybody on the side, but when I get up, I need at least 2 cups of coffee. 2. And then sometimes need 3 cups of coffee to get going tonight. I don't know, it's like petrol, it's like fuel, an addiction, whatever you want to call it. I need my hit, which is my coffee, and I need it desperately. Otherwise, I don't know, I just can't seem to get into gear. I just can't seem to get working without my coffee. So coffee is a good thing. And Paul 123. There are many warriors care more about finances than football. Mate, that's exactly what I was just saying, wasn't it? They do. At Spurs, we have got to be one of the only clubs out there that are so divided, not just divided like, as we are on opinions and that, but so money orientated. To the point that it gets where your average debate, as soon as Levy gets brought into it and everything else, ends up as you're not really even debating about football. You're debating about bloody money. And what the hell is that about? But that's just Tottenham for you. And I suppose we're all used to that by now. Let's see what we have to say here. Jason Naz. Yeah, Dan, did you see the Arsenal Osman links? I will do something really bad if we don't make a world-class signing now. Mate, you better get ready to do... Pardon me. You better get ready to do something bad then. There's going to be no world-class signing. Not at Spurs. We don't sign world-class players. We sign players with potential, usually. I mean, if we go to the one I'm going to go to in a minute, which is getting spoke about a lot, he's not world-class, but would be a very, very, very good buy for the club. Spurs are not in a position to go for world-class players. We're not. Tottenham aren't big enough to have world-class players. Not as a football club. As a business, yes. But as a football club, no. I mean, the world-class players, I mean, what is a world-class player these days? I hear the phrase world-class so much, and then it always brings me up to, okay, if that's world-class, take me back to Italy in like the 90s, 95, and even the Premier League 2000, and then compare half of them to this lot. This lot wouldn't even be able to lace their boots. World-class is way too easy these days. But I can see some good things happening. I usually get told I'm more one of the toxic lot, whatever else. Not that it bothers me in the slightest, but I need to see actions. Actions speak louder than words. And with what I'm reading, I do think you're going to see a couple of actions with some good, solid players. And that's what we need at Spurs. There's no point about talking about world class at Spurs. It don't ever happen. We might get a player before he turns world class, like we have done with a couple, Modric and I don't know, Carl Walker. I would have said he's a world class player. Yeah, all right. We kept hold of Harry Kane, Gareth Bale, but none of them were world class when we got them. They was all up and coming. Spurs do not sign world class players. It don't do it. So if you're gonna do something really bad, you might as well go do it now, mate. Why waste your time thinking about it? And Bill, fans complaining about that are just businessmen who don't understand how the football works. Exactly, that's what we're saying. But for him to get the crap because he's actually done something good for the football for a change, you just got to laugh at it. You got to. And Ben, what you got to say here, mate? Oshman is perfect for Arsenal, especially with a massive Nigerian fan base. It'd be perfect for him in every way. It's just like I said to you, with the wages, I just don't see him willing to push that far on the wages. I really don't. But then they've got the money coming in. They've done the Champions League now, finished second in the league 2 seasons on the spot. They've definitely got income coming in there. So maybe I'm wrong now, but I just don't think they'd go for his wages. That's the only thing I think would hold it back. And Jamie Git, like your name, with buying Ndombele, Levy has gone down to the worst deal, not just in Spurs, but in history, but entire history of football. Mate, I would agree with you. I cannot really think of a worse signing than Ndombele. For the price he cost, for the wages he cost, for the attitude he had. And we all know the man's got skill. That was what was most annoying about this fella. He had skill and he could do it. But he was, I'll just say straight, he's a fat, lazy bastard. Simple as that. Sorry if that has offended anybody, but it's just the way I'm going to say it. He was a lazy bastard, mate, and he just could not be bothered. He might as well have took his iPad on the pitch with him. No, Levy has done the right thing getting him out, but I agree. If anyone can think of a worse signing than that, for the money that it cost and everything else, do feel free to tell me on the side, because I genuinely can't think of an overall worse signing than that. And Ray the Yid, morning Dan, hope you're good. Morning to you too, mate. Hope all's good. And Ray the Yid, Arsenal have signed Sesko and are now looking for Chiesa and some of the names I can't pronounce, mate, so I won't try. Ouch. I mean, that Sesko does look good. If they get Chiesa, that is a very, very good player. Only thing is with Chiesa, he can be a bit injury prone. The thing is with Chiesa, he's very similar from where I've seen him play quite a few times. He plays on the right usually, but sometimes he can play attacking midfield central sort of thing, like a little playmaker sort of thing, like a little Maddison sort of thing. He's not exactly physical, and he's just like Saka in the way he does get bullied about quite a lot. They just hack him in the shins and throw him about, basically. But if they get Chiesa as well, and I don't think he'd be the most expensive deal. Because like I've told people, Italy are not in a place for money at the moment. They really aren't. Literally every club out there is struggling for money. Even Inter Milan, who have just been taken over by Americans from, I think it was Chinese group. They're only just getting their shit together sort of thing. And yeah, that Chiesa is a deal that could happen. And if that does happen and he lands on his feet over here, Saka's definitely got to run for his money. And then they've got more than a perfect cover on the side for him. And Jason Naz, they're paying 350k towards Havertz. Do you know what, mate? That's a solid point. I didn't think of that one. That is a solid point. I mean, if you're going to pay someone like that 350, then I suppose only time will tell. But I think he's going to want significantly more than that. Like I said, I think with him, you're going to be looking at like 400 grand he wants. He seems to think he's Haaland, basically. And a lot of it does come over one special season that he had. But he has been a regular goal scorer. And JTB 2018, morning Dan, getting bang on the coffee, bruv. Yep, that's what you got to do. And Ryan, big up Dan and chat, big up to you too. JJ, oi, oi, morning all, morning Dan, morning to you too, mate. I hope everything's good for you. Ryan, what are you saying here? World-class players to me are like Ronaldinho, Zidane, Pirlo, and the original R9. Don't see players like that anymore. Exactly. And the list can go on. Figo, Raul, Sergio Ramos, Shevchenko when he was at it, Batistuta, Roberto Baggio. I mean, the list can go on of world-class players. I mean, Makalele was another one. Lilian Thuram. I can sit here and go through loads of them. And the players these days, that they wouldn't even tickle their boots. So I'm totally agreeing with what you're saying there. And Rob Belcher, what you're saying, it takes a lot to get. Yes, it does. If you want the best, you have to pay for the best, mate. And that is one thing we're known for not doing. So, but you're right. But if Arsenal maybe feel that's all they need to get that final step up to win the league, they've got the money to do it. Only time will tell. Anthony Clark, AFC. Most of your fan base last season was saying Tottenham backline was world class. All right. Let's go on this one a bit, yeah. Now, if you look at the back line we had the season before with Sanchez, Dyer, a pissed off Romero, Longley, then this back line is world class. Now, for me, if this back line was played properly, which isn't even really a back line we play with bloody back two, we have got two quality defenders there. We have got one who can become quite possibly a world class defender, Romero, without a doubt. He can keep up with Saliba. I mean, if you go on technical and all that side of stuff, he's actually better than Saliba. I know that's bollocks, mate. I don't agree with all those tactics, all that crap. Yeah. Why is he better? Why has he made more tackles? Why has he made more headers? Yeah, because he's had to, because there's been more pressure in the bloody box. I know that crap. But he's more than good enough to get into, I'd say, every team, bar Man City, and Arsenal 50-50. He could give Martinelli a run for his money or Saliba. Van der Ven, you can't dispute the boy. He has done excellent since he's come at Spurs. And again, he's another one who would practically walk into any team, bar City and Arsenal. So, yeah. But when you've got your two-class defenders sitting on the halfway line half time and your wing-backs inverting, I mean, because Udogie definitely ain't bad, but defending ain't his strongest point, same as Porro, excellent going forward. That is a solid back four we got. But with the tactics we use, it definitely makes it look worse than what it was. So there's my answer for you on that one. We have got quality players there. It's just when you play a certain way, you're going to concede goals. I mean, the way we were playing last year with the system, the thing I kept complaining about, is you could have had the greatest defence on the planet up there and you will still concede goals. Just a harmless potato. Arsenal are not getting Oshman. He's off to Saudi. Now, they would afford to pay his money. I mean, they can afford to buy a bloody country out there. They could just come over and buy England if they wanted to. The money out there is just, it's unreal. And Anthony Clark, I do not want Oshman. Let me start again. I do not want Oshman. He's too injury prone and he's crap. We need better. He's a quality player, and I wouldn't even say he's injury prone, mate. But the question does come down to, would he handle the Premiership? I suppose that's what everybody asks, isn't it? Can somebody handle the Premiership? And a lot of players that have come over, especially from Italy, strikers-wise, they don't seem to settle down in the Premiership too well at all. And yeah, Pepe, Arsenal. I suppose that's going back to the Ndombele thing. Do you know what? That's not a bad call. Because that Pepe weren't too great either. But I think you got more out of Pepe than we did out of Ndombele. And so, yeah, maybe that's up there with the top 5, but that's not worse than Ndombele. And Joseph Ndombele, he just let himself down big time, as he had the potential to be a very, very top player, but weren't willing to put in the work. Exactly. He just had the wrong mentality. I mean, people like him shouldn't be gifted like him. He was one who you could tell he was just naturally gifted with skill, because you could tell he didn't bloody work from it. I mean, Beckham weren't naturally gifted with skill. Beckham used to spend day after day out in his back garden with bloody big, massive tyres out there, taking free kicks on the tyres to get the ball through the tyres. He worked to get where he got. He worked to get his skill. Kane weren't generally gifted, not at all. Kane worked to get as good as he is. He trained himself to get as good as he is. He wasn't one of these ones that just sort of born with it like some are. And Ndombele, there's no dispute. The man had skill, but it was just a total waste of space. Jason S. At Dan, yesterday you said Sarr is half the size of you. Sarr is 6'2". How tall are you then? When I meant half the size, I meant physically. I'm about 5'11". But if you look at him physically, all right. Pictures can be deceiving. But when I see him on the pitch and when I see him running with his spaghetti legs and everything and that, he looks half the size of me physically. He doesn't exactly look like a hench boy, does he? But 6'2", fine. Yeah, he's taller than me. But shoulders-wise, he seems like he's about half the size of me. And he does get knocked about a bit. Anthony Clark, where did you hear that Arsenal have signed Sesko? It's one that's in the ranks. It's definitely going. And Ben, what you're saying here depends on what Mata thinks of Chiesa. If he likes him, he's staying. What Mata thinks of Chiesa, yeah. And Ben, you follow the Italian football as well, didn't you? And one thing we both know, that Chiesa is a very good player. Very good. He does get injured a bit easy and he does get kicked about like Saka. That is why I related it to him. But it would be the perfect person to sit there with Saka, where Saka wouldn't necessarily even walk into the squad anymore. He would know that if something goes wrong, Chiesa has got his space. And that's what we need at Tottenham. Not just these little players to fill up more deadwood spaces. We need players that can walk into that 11 straight away, or that can be challenging for that first 11 from the very start. Cool. And JTB, Chiesa is the bollocks, gutted. Also, Winston Brogay, Chevsky springs to mind regarding shit signings. Chelsea have made some bad ones as well, haven't they? I mean, Crespo, when he went there, really didn't settle down, did he? Neither did Shevchenko. Who can I think of? Dimieri at Man U. That was not a good signing either. But Ndombele is definitely up there. At least they got games. And Alex got experience. Morning to you, mate. And what's Alex saying here? Just trying to keep up with the chat at the moment. Herb Cowlin said that... God, definitely got a chest this morning. Herb Cowlin said that Spurs are only looking to bring in one more forward. What? If we're not going to get rid of Richarlison, because he has said he doesn't want to go, and we've still got Son, why do we need to go for more than one striker, really? If we get one striker, then there's other more important places to cover as long as we get that one striker. We just need that quality striker. And JTB, love Romero, but he does make mistakes and can be weak in the air. And at defending the set pieces, VDV will be world class. Now, out of them two, VDV is the one who is weak in the air, especially considering his size as well. I mean, he's not a small boy. He's a tall fella, and he's weaker in the air than Romero all day long. That is VDV's weakest point, up in the air. So on set pieces and things like that. You say Romero weak in the air. I think he's been pretty solid. He's banged in a couple of headers for us. He gets up there. I mean, he's a bit short, but... And yeah, I don't know. I disagree with that one a bit. I think he's quite solid in the air. And yeah, he does make some decisions and that. But surely, I mean, it's one thing I didn't see for a long time. It was right under my bloody nose, basically. I've been screaming about Son not being captain material. And I don't know what anyone thinks on this idea, but Son for me is not captain material. Lovely boy, lovely fella, whatever else. Probably loves playing ping pong with everyone off the pitch and that, like we saw he does. But captain material for me, no, he's not my style of captain. Maybe that's just where I'm too old to look on modern day football that they're all meant to be holding hands and like, you know, jumping about, flying flags and everything else. No, for me, you need a manager on, you need a captain on that pitch that can talk from the manager basically and get those players working when they're doing it properly. And Son, mentally, I think he's also one of the weaker ones as well. Not as bad as, say, someone like Richarlison, but definitely Son, when he misses a couple of chances, you can see his head goes down. He gets a bit depressed, and then his skill goes down a bit. Son does have that issue as well, and he always has done. That is why I've said he's always played in patches, where you're seeing brilliant scoring goals for 6, 7, 8 games. And then all of a sudden he'll miss a couple and then won't score for 5 or 6 games. And then he'll score another 6 goals in 2 games. It's just the way Son's always been, for me anyway. But I personally think Romero should be made our captain. I mean, the next best call to that for me is Vicario, but I don't like goalkeepers as captain. But Romero should be captain. If he gets sent off now and again, I can deal with that. All right, Jason, Dan, I have a weird feeling VDV would break down and lose his explosive quality. In what aspect are you saying that? If we keep playing him the way we play him, he's going to have no bloody hamstring left, and then he will lose a big part of it. What's this, Alex Scott? Danny is about 6'2" in his wife's high heels. Mate, you don't know the half of it, so let's just leave it there. It's not just high heels. Anyway, and KM1804, Sa is 20 years old and playing like this. What a bloke. What is that bloke on about? Yeah, I didn't say he's not playing good, did I? He has been playing good. Simple as that. I've never stated otherwise. Yeah, towards the end of the season, he was like the rest of the midfield. He totally fell to pieces. The whole midfield fell to pieces. Bentancur was absolute shit. Maybe had one good game in 7. Basuma, do we need to go further? Maddison, flop of the season, basically, considering how he started. Yes, we've had a bigger overall flop with Basuma, but for me, Maddison was the bigger flop because he just started off excellent. So I haven't made a statement and said that he's poor or whatever. I just said he's not very big built, or he doesn't look it. Just because you're 6'2" don't mean you're hench and muscled. I know people that are like 6'8", 6'9", and they're like skinnier than me. That's the point I'm making with him. I don't think he's quite at that stage yet where he can boss a box to box, or where either he could be that solid anchor man or whatever we need as a DM. I don't think he's physically quite got it yet. But yeah, he's only 20. Bit of work up on the bench and he'll get bigger. Simple as that. There's certain players who just can't do that. They could work up on the bench all day long and they still won't get bigger. Look at Brian Hill, whatever. I mean, pump some steroids into him, and I still bet you he stays like a little rag doll. I mean, there's nothing of him. You could literally blow him a kiss, Brian Gill, and it'd just go away. So, Rob, Dan, with your knowledge of the Italian league, who would you say would be a great addition to us? There's 2 I would love to go for personally. I think Pellegrini. I know he's got some issues, but I think Pellegrini would be an excellent player for us. Excellent player. Another one who I would absolutely love to go for. It's one that Tony mentions all the time as well. Locatelli, another great player. I'd love to go for Marcus Thuram out there, Martinelli. But on a realistic point of view, I mean, that Edison doesn't look too bad either. He looks all right from what I have seen. But the one I want to go for, and I've been saying this for 3 years now, and anyone who knows me on Spurs, who spoke to me regular, can vouch for me on this one. Now I've got to get his bloody name right. I might have to write it down. Milankovic, Fiorentina. We would get him at a respectable price of 20-30 million because Fiorentina are not a big club. They've punched well above their weights for a couple of years. I've always liked Fiorentina. Always liked the way the clubs run, everything else, but they are not big. And Milankovic, however you want to say his name, from Fiorentina would be one of the first ones I snap him up straight away. Because I feel he's more than good enough to go in the back and give Van der Ven a run for his money all day long. And possibly even Romero. I personally think he's a very, very good defender. And yeah, Locatelli at Juventus, another one I'd love to get there. And yeah, there's plenty of them you can go through, mate. But another one I wouldn't mind is Dominica Berardi. I can't pronounce his first name. I can't even pronounce the club. He's at Sassuolo, however you say the bloody name. Yeah, the man's 28, coming on 29. But if we're playing wide and cutting in inverted, like forwards, wingers sort of thing, I think he'd do an excellent job over here. So that's another one I would go for. JTB, I agree. VDV needs to improve in the air. Definitely does. And Romero seems better at scoring headers than defending them. Yeah, I can go with that. That's a fair point, mate. I can go with that. Both need to be better coached, in my opinion, and agree. Romero would be a better captain, mate. He would. But what I've always said, you want as a captain, you want that Pirello, you want that Gatasso, you want that Roy Keane, you want that Patrick Vieira, that John Terry, even Steven Gerrard sort of thing. But then some would say, yeah, but it's not like that anymore. You don't need those animals out there to bollocks, mate. Get me Roy Keane on that pitch. And I bet you half those players would be so shit scared to play crap, they'd be more scared of him than the bloody manager. That is what I want as my captain. But it's personal opinion at the end of the day. And if there's anyone who's got more than the capability of doing it physically and verbally, it's Romero. Because one thing I think we definitely learned about Vicario is he's definitely got a lot of mouth. He's definitely got a lot of passion in it. But his weak spot, he doesn't seem to actually like getting involved physically, does he? I mean, you look at that game with Arsenal where Ben White was touching him up all the time. And he didn't even push him over or push him away. That is one thing Vicario needs to learn about. Or we need to cover him more. But for me, Romero is the captain material. And Brady Yid, Romero, captain, yeah, totally agree. And Nicola, Tottenham should be all over Chiesa, the 30-40 million euros price tag. I think it'd be about 50-60 million euros. But again, he's another one. His wages would be very high. And Jessica, better net be just one unless he meant one winger, as we need wide forward and number 9. Fair enough. And Jason, Dan, the other day on the Chelsea channel, they were calling 6'2" Kepa short, and now you say 6'1" Romero is a bit short as 5'10". Male gives me anxiety. Is Romero actually 6'1"? No, have I just totally misunderstood what you said there? Now you say 6'1" Romero is a bit short. If he's 6'1", mate, then I didn't think he was. I thought he was more like 5'10". But then I don't go through all a player how much he weighs, how much height he is. Or maybe I've just misunderstood what you said. But I don't think Romero's the biggest fella out there. When I say biggest, I don't mean by tall. Like I said about Sarr, he might be 6'2", but you could be 6'2". But if you haven't got that muscle on you, for me, he's still got a lot of building to do before he can totally boss a midfield. And Alfie Hall, after Sarr come back from AFCON tournament, he lost it a bit, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree with you. And Basuma had already lost it before he went there, basically. So I'm definitely agreeing with what you're saying there. And our whole midfield just fell to shit, didn't it? It just went to pieces. And Jeremy Gitt is saying best captains have to be a bit of a nutter, Kane, Terry, etc. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I would want to see at Spurs. But then maybe every other people, different opinions. I do get different people, different opinions, different ways. Everyone's unique. I mean, they say that's what makes the human race unique, in it, that we're all different. We all see things different. I understand you're going to have that other players on the pitch that to get them to work, you need to shout in their face and give them a slap and tell them to do something. And I get the other ones that are that delicate that you need to give them a slap on the backside and a little kiss on the cheek. No, come on, boy, it's all right. You can do it. Bollocks, mate. Slap him in the face and tell him to pull his finger out and be a man. But that's my opinion. That's all it is. And Nicola Pellegrini is a good shout. Very good player. I personally think he's better than Maddison. He can play middle. He can play up front. He can play maker. I think he's a very good player. I know he's got I can't remember what it is that's wrong with him. He has got a bodily issue, but he plays regular enough. And for me, I just think he's a very good player. And we got our Spurs back, didn't we? Just Rodney Trotter. Rodney Trotter. Crespo would disagree. He wasn't exactly great for what he was, though, was he? Alfie, agreed, Dan. Milenkovic from Fiorentina would be ideal. Perfect for us. Absolutely perfect. I mean, if we played a back three, excellent. And Duran going Liverpool. Emerson going Liverpool. Emerson, I think you mean Ederson. That's what I presume. And Rodney, but Batusta, not Crespo, sorry. Yeah. Batusta wasn't, he was world class. He just never, you know what? Bassoon, let me start again. Batusta, you couldn't really, he never got, Gabriel Batistuta never really got what he deserved because he stayed at Fiorentina until he went to Roma. I mean, I think he was about 33, 34 when he went to Roma. And Manu went for him time and time again. And he just stayed loyal to his club. He just wanted to stay at Fiorentina. He could have gone anywhere on this planet and been one of the greatest strikers the world's ever seen. And he's still up there with the greatest strikers, and he played at Fiorentina for most of his life. And what's Rodney saying here? Butigo would disagree. Fiorentina are a big club. They're not a big club, mate. They're really not. Look at the size of the stadium. Look at them. Depends what you want to call a big club. They are not a massive club out there. They are nowhere near the size of AC Milan, nowhere near the size of Inter, Juventus, Roma, Napoli, Lazio are bigger than them. They're not a big club out there. Right, so I'm going to get to a couple of points on here. I mean, Romero played, what was it, last night? He's meant to have had an extremely good game. Martinelli's bigging him up big time. And Lo Celso was also meant to have started as well and meant to have had a bit of a shocker. Again, just by what I read. And this just shows how much more we need to get rid of him. And from what the rumours say, from what I have seen, is that Spurs are now even willing to drop the price tag on him to 8 million. 8 million. As long as Real Betis pay the 8 million up front in cash. Again, it's all talk. It's everything I read off of here. That would be a big drop. But again, he's another player we don't need. He's another player that's got to go. And if we carry on doing the way we're doing things at the moment, then he's doing it the right way. He's getting rid of the crap. He's getting the crap out. He's cutting his losses. And if we get 8 million for Lo Celso, bang, that's 8 million in the bank. And that's another, 70,000. I don't know how much he's on off the wages as well, that we can put to someone else. Get that deadwood out. So if he goes for that, then I can't say I'm bothered. But Lo Celso is one I would expect a little bit of money for. But he's another bit of that deadwood that needs to go. I mean, the other one that keeps popping up everywhere is Hudson-Odoi. I can't say that one's for me. I mean, he plays up on the left, doesn't he, if I remember correct? Some people have said he could possibly cover the left inverted wing back. Yeah, but that would be covering a position. Again, that would be another problem that we already do use of not playing a player to his potential, playing a player to what he is good at. Hudson-Odoi for me is a no-go. I mean, they're meant to be asking 35. We're meant to be offering 15. There's more important. I think we can do better than that. Hudson-Odoi for me is just okay. He done good at Forest, but so did Johnson. I think that just about says it all for me. I really, that Hudson-Odoi one just does not work for me. I don't honestly see why we would go for him. We don't even need him unless all of a sudden we go to that part of we're going for quantity, not quality, and we don't want that. We want quality at Spurs, and if we're going by what it looks in the books at the moment, it could be that way. And Osvaldo, Ange out. Mate, I made that same mistake when we signed Werner. I said Ange out as well, and that was out of pure temper. Now, I won't deny it. I'm sitting on the fence and I see what happens after the transfer window, and I'll give him them 6 months up to December. I was just one of the ones who just went off their head out of anger. I don't deny it. And I think a lot of people did as well. I think a few people who said Ange out don't necessarily believe Ange out yet. But when you're complaining about your problem up front and you're not clinical enough up front, and then you go and re-sign one of the problems, I would say it definitely doesn't give people hope, does it? But I ain't going into that team over this shit. I mean, he's there now. I haven't got to accept it. I've just got to, he's there sort of thing. I haven't got to respect it. I just got to, he's there on 165k a week. Yes. And Rodney, you need competition through either way. I totally agree with you, mate. You need competition in every space. You need players that can walk onto that pitch and it's not a drop from there to there, like taking off a Doji and then putting Ben Davies on there as your inverted wing back. The drop is, I can't even do it on the screen. So yeah, you do. But are we really in a place to get that competition right now? That's a long-term thing. If I see 3 good players coming on, here, and then maybe 1 or 2 to squad it up, as long as they're not deadwood, I can deal with that. I want 3 players in there that can walk into that team. And then the following season, you can bring on another 3 players that either get into that team or at the same level as the people on the team. So that now everybody is looking over their shoulder. They have to fight 10 times harder because they know if they fuck up on the pitch, their place is taken. And that is not one thing we have at Spurs. We genuinely don't. And Rich, big up Dan, big up to you too. And Graham, good morning, Dan. And yes, Romero, 6'1". I didn't think he was 6'1". There you go. You learn something every day, don't you? I thought he was more like a 5'10" sort of thing. He don't look like a big fella on the pitch. But yeah, 6'1". Fair enough. He's taller than me then. And Brian, how are we doing this morning? Good morning, one and all in the chat. And my brother Dan, hope you're well. Have a great day. Hope you have a good day as well. If you want to jump on, mate, send me the link and I'll send you a link. Not a problem. Rodney, I meant Battistuta, not Crespo. Yeah, already said that. And I presume you mean Battistuta there. He's a legend. You were right. What a player. And that's me electric nearly gone. Yes, he was. Brian, don't forget to smash the like. Great contact Dan has been putting out. Thanks a lot, mate. It's much appreciated. Content. And Rodney, no to Hudson-Odoi. Is there anyone on here who would actually agree with Hudson-Odoi? Realistically, is there anyone on here who would honestly agree with us signing Hudson-Odoi? I mean, because personally, no, it's not for me. Hudson-Odoi is just not for me, mate. For me, that's just signing potential that once was. And Rodney, what you're saying, no to Hudson-Odoi, and also saying I'd rather Hudson to BJ though. Laugh my ass off. Look, I think everybody knows my feelings on Johnson, yeah? And one thing that does really piss me off is when they start cutting, yeah, but he's young. I mean, how old is he now? 23? If I remember right, he's older than Van der Ven. I just don't see what he brings to a good quality team. I can see what he brings to a mid-table team, but we don't want to be a mid-table team. I really don't see that much of what he brings to us. I mean, his crossing is terrible. I mean, okay, he got assists, but how many times did he have to cross that ball in to get a good crossing? It shouldn't be 1 out of every 15 or 1 out of every 20. It should be like at least 5 out of every 10 crosses you put in there are bloody good crosses. He's missed sitters off the line just as bad as Werner. And he's got a couple of them in as well. Yeah, okay. You look at the stats on him and everything, it wasn't the worst season. The one that really bugs me with Johnson, really, really bugs me. The boy's got pace. No two ways about it. But he don't use it most of the time. And what I mean by that is where he's not great on his feet, I don't think he is anyway. He's got the capability to use that old skill of knock it past the player 5 yards and sprint past him. And if the player puts his foot out, trips him up, the player gets a yellow card and we get a free kick. But I think there was only 2 or 3 games where I see him do that regular in a game. And the other thing is with him, people say, yeah, but he's improved. How? I think I saw maybe 2 games last season where I saw him play 90 minutes where he was involved for about 60, 70 minutes. The rest of it he played, he had a good 5 minutes here or there. Like he had his little crossing or he scored. And then he disappears for the rest of the 85 minutes. And then, yeah, as the season went on, you started seeing him for 10 minutes. Great. Is Johnson going to take us to another level? No, he's not. I just honestly don't think I don't rate him highly at all. And only Forest benefit from us signing him. Yeah. Especially the price we paid for him as well. But not my money. Milan Savic. The only one I remember that was an older player. Oh, and we got a guest. Let's say good morning to Brian. How we doing, mate?
Good morning, brother. How are we, sir?
I'm all right, mate, apart from it being a bit miserable in the weather out here, and I still can't go out and do the crap I need to in the back garden. Apart from that, mate, same shit today.
Well, it's the opposite here. It's 6 a.m, nice and warm. Enjoying the sun. As you can see in my pyjama shorts. It's all nice here in Toronto.
Oh. Well, that's all right for you. So just read that on the side here. Dan, my gut feeling telling me Ange won't get full squad. He'd be happy with going into the third person where a team can proper challenge, but interesting how he do in second season with extra games. Yes, it will be. And look, if I've read that right, I mean, Brian, we both know he's not going to get his full squad that he wants in this transfer window. I mean, if he did, wow. But that's not going to happen, is it?
No. Listen, I think what we've got to look at as a main thing is, compared to any other window, in a positive way, if Ndombele is confirmed in the next 24, 48 hours, week, whatever it is, there's £600,000 a week cleared on wages. So I'm not even talking transfer value and amount of players that we bring in. That's a huge amount of revenue that's available to give wages or decent wages to decent players. Not bringing people in on 20, 30, 40s. Your Eze's, your Jimenez's, if it's Gallagher, your whoever, 600 grand a week saved, the money is there. We all know financially we're the big 8 in the world and everything, but you look at it and 600 grand a week saved on wages. before the window opens, there's no excuse not to pay the big wages.
I agree.
So that, you know, that's more the avenue I'm going to go down right now, because we all go, yeah, we've got the money, and people want to talk about spreadsheets and whatever. I agree with the first one, that we have the money, go spend it, but I'm trying to find like a middle ground. And if I think about it, when you save 600 grand a week, if Eze wants to be on par with Werner, let's just say, do it. There is, and you've just saved yourself 600 grand a week. There's no excuse why Eze, if that's what he wants, can't be on par with it. So we'll have to wait and see. We shall have to wait and see. I really hope this is a summer where you and I can turn around and go, do you know what, we were wrong? Will we wait and see?
Yep.
We wait and see.
Only time will tell.
Exactly.
Well, I'll bring up something with you quick that I've already spoke about, yeah? But perfect person on there for the opinion, yeah? What I've read of a lot on the internet, there's been quite a bit on X about it and everything else. It seems like the Levy lovers have turned on Levy because he let Ndombele go for free and we didn't get no money out of him.
Well, do you know what? I haven't had my morning briefing of Twitter that I normally do when I get up. If that's the case, Jesus, then do you know what? Then we're in worse state than I thought.
That is exactly what I said.
If we literally have it, that it's coming to the point where someone like me is coming out and is prepared to say well done to the club and the owners for doing what they're doing and getting players off the board and off the wage bill and saving money to bring in players, and then we've got people that are now having a go at him. Who's going to buy him? Who's actually? Do you want to wait? I think it's a case down where you look at, do we get 200 grand off the wage bill and fork out a little bit to get it confirmed, or do we have a summer relentlessly trying to find him a club or get him out the door, and hardly anyone's going to want to take him? Who's even? Do you know what? Even if someone was, I will say, stupid enough to take him, who's going to sit there and say, yeah, we'll pay a lion's share of his 200 grand a week wages after all the things he's been? No one.
It would be stupid. I mean, he may have 2 titles on his hand, but that's purely because he basically sat on the bench the whole thing.
Exactly.
It's madness. And something someone just mentioned up here, Danny Darko Spurs, Oi Spurs, what do you think about Solomon? Now, he was injured all last season and that. Yeah. But if I've read right, I mean, where was it that we actually got him from?
Dynamo. Oh no, sorry. One of the Ukrainian teams. Dynamo.
Yeah, that's it.
Shakhtar. Exactly.
Yeah, Shakhtar. Yeah. They're meant to actually be taking us to court.
So,
because we got him for free and saying we took advantage of the war and everything else and all that.
Exactly. What I will say, it's amazing how the friendly came up for Shakhtar Donetsk before last season as the pre-season friendly, and proceeds were going to Shakhtar and obviously the Ukraine. Manos Solomon's a very, very difficult one to discuss, especially for me for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I will say, I'm just talking football, so I will not talk anything else. When he came, I was at the Burnley game when we won 5-2, and he was exceptional. But yes, it was only Burnley at the beginning of the season. If people will remember against Sheffield United when we got that 2-1 win, and people remember it because of the way we won it, but we were actually really poor that day. In that first half, Manos Solomon again was the only player that looked like they were doing some damage. He can be a very good player. Is he at Tottenham level? I don't think he is. I think if he'd stayed fitter all season and was played, then we'd have a better
knowledge of him, basically.
Better knowledge, and to see if he fits better. But with the way Spurs are doing things, I see him gone. Yeah. We're getting rid of players that we don't see are going to have an impact.
Plus, he made a few comments out there that he shouldn't have made, didn't he?
Yes. I mean, I listen. I don't really want to comment on that for obvious reasons, but he was stupid. He was Listen,
Yes.
I can even say he was stupid.
I know what he said, and that was fucking stupid.
Yeah, he said, listen, some stupid things were said. But yeah, I don't see him going. I still think if he got back into the squad and had a few games like he started, we may see a different Manor Solomon, and his footballing talents may change people's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But with everything that's going on with the way we're getting rid of players, I can't see him being at Tottenham come the end of the window.
No, nor can I. I mean, so just question off here. I know we've already spoke all this enough times, Brian, and that, but Dry Roast Peanut wants to know who's your choice as new striker. For me, it's Ivan Toney. Why? Because he's been there, done it. I know he's coming on 29. He's the most complete striker out there of the choices we got. Do I want to pay 65 million for Solanke? No, hell no, I don't. To me, the man ain't even worth 20 million. I really don't rate Solanke in any way.
Yeah.
And with the other ones we're looking at, yes, they might be younger and you might get more money in the future and they could come great and everything else. But they're more of a gamble bringing them over here. I mean, look at all the excuses that everyone gives Johnson. Oh, yeah, but he's only a boy. Yes, he's 23, for God's sake. He ain't a boy. And Van der Ven comes in at a younger age and just drops on the floor running. Am I willing to take that chance? No. All right, Ivan Toney may have had a bit of an attitude with his gambling and that. Hopefully, he would have learned from there. And I think he's the most complete striker that we can use. You can use him as a target man. He can poach. He can head the ball. He's a bit of a poor man's Harry Kane, basically. He's an all-rounder, just not as good as what Harry Kane could do at everything. And I think he'd be the perfect one for us. And if he's going at 40, 50 mil, I don't see Arsenal going for him because I don't think Arteta likes that sort of player who's got a bit of an attitude on him. He likes all these players to be yes, sir, no, sir. And that's no disrespect. That's just the way it seems with him there. I don't see Chelsea going for him. Liverpool, hell no. Man U, no. Newcastle, don't need him. I would probably say, I mean, the only one that I've read that are actually willing to put any competition in for him of late is West Ham. And I still think we're a better option than West Ham, even though I would take all three of West Ham's for all three of ours up front sort of thing. But the point is, for me, it's Ivan Toney. It's a no-say at 40 mil, and he's been there, done it in the Premiership. Yes, he's got an attitude on him, but maybe we need a bit of that on the pitch as well. I mean, would you reckon? Who's your man that you'd have?
My man, I will say, first of all, you know my feelings on Brennan Johnson. It's someone you and I disagree on.
Yep.
But like I said, I give him a pre-season. If he doesn't, if he's not up to par next season, time to go. I'm not sitting around on ceremony here, but I think next season we see a different Johnson. I hope we see a different Johnson. But getting back into the main question at hand, my striker is the guy that was at Coventry, that is at Sporting Lisbon, Victor Gyökeres or Gokeres or whatever the bloody way is. I think he's got the power. I think he's got the hold-up play. He's got the pace. He's younger than Toney. I can see why people are saying Toney. If it was pound for pound value, then I don't think you're going to find better than Toney for what we're looking at. Unless you go for Guarati, who's got big up Ray brother, who's got that buyout clause, I still believe. But yeah, mine is 100% Gorka. You know what? I'm a little bit chilly. I'm going to turn the camera off as I move into my living room, and I'll be back with you on camera in about a minute. But I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm still here.
No problem. So, Rob Belcher, what are you saying here, mate? Gordon is miles ahead of where Johnson is. Strange, some of us fans didn't want him at Spurs. I wanted him at Spurs personally. I would have snapped him up over Johnson all day long. I didn't really know that much of Johnson. I just knew that he had an all right season at Nottingham Forest, and that was about it. And for me, I totally agree with what Rob's just said here. Right? Like, Gordon is miles ahead of where Johnson is. Strange move. Our fan base didn't want him at Spurs. But that is one thing we seem to have a problem with at Spurs, isn't it? We do look down at a lot of players, don't we?
But what I will say about this, and good morning to Rob, one of the nicest men you could ever wish to meet.
Top fella.
Really is unbelievable guy.
He's the reason I do this, Brian. He is the reason that I stuck to this.
We speak regularly. he is one of, like I said, we get to meet or at least speak to off camera wonderful people that watch our shows or do whatever. This man is top draw. What I will say about Anthony Gordon is, do remember he actually arrived at Newcastle the season before last. He went in the January window, and from January to May, he didn't have the best of times at Newcastle, but he got a pre-season under Eddie Howe, learned what the manager wanted from him, and this season he was sensational for Newcastle. That's why I am like I am with Johnson. If Johnson had come at the beginning of the window, like a Van der Ven you mentioned, listen, Van der Ven and Johnson, where they are not only different positions, but they're in completely different levels. But some players come in and need that adjustment time. And like I said, let's hope Johnson has the first full season. And let's face it, Johnson almost did get a full season. He just didn't get a pre-season. He just missed the first month. I hope, like what happened with Eddie Howe and Anthony Gordon, who had him for the whole pre-season, explained to him, this is what I want you to do. And then he did it expertly well. I think Anthony Gordon was one.
He was good. No two ways about it. Anthony Gordon was good. I think you're frozen up a bit there, Brian.
Not that Anthony Johnson. Do I think Brennan Johnson will hit Anthony Gordon's levels? But I'm willing to give him the pre-season that Gordon got to see where we go. He's kind of the prime example when I talk about Johnson having a pre-season. Yes, Brennan Johnson had September to May, whereas Gordon had January or February to May. But I'm hoping that the same kind of let's get a pre-season under the manager will then help Johnson.
I mean, one thing that just got said here, if I can scroll back to it, I think it's a very good point that George has made here. Solomon actually had one less assist than Kulu and Werner in the league and had 5 appearances.
This is the thing. I saw another comment on there. I don't know if it was from George as well, saying that if he hadn't have been injured, would we have originally gone and got Werner? And I think the answer to that is no, because we needed him because Son was going to the Asia Games or Asia Cup. Sorry for my ignorance. I don't know what the actual official title of it is. And we needed a left winger. So I don't know if Werner would have been brought in. And I think Werner coming in this season is a clearer sign to say Solomon isn't on the manager's plans or isn't in the manager's plans. And we see where it goes. But he's got a bang on point with the comment.
It is true in that aspect, isn't it? It is true. But Solomon, I could see him being basically out, which we're not going to get into. But for basically what he said, there's a very high chance he never plays for Spurs again. And because I'm in a good mood, I just put out 5 memberships for people out there. Whoever got them, fair play to you. And Rodney, give Ange proper technical players and characters like Tony, Eze. I can't read that one. And Pauline, Kuda. Oh, right, I know you mean now. And Paulina and Watching Cook. Paulina is one we've said before, Brian. I think me and you both totally agree on this one. I would love us to get hold of him literally to the same level that I would love us to get hold of Eze. Well,
you know the annoying thing, and I feel don't mean I feel sorry for Tommy Tuchel, but you look at it. He wanted him at Bayern Munich last summer, and the deal collapsed on deadline day. He identified that he needed a Paulinho type player in that Bayern Munich squad. And yesterday it broke. It's pretty much wrapped up that he's going to Bayern for Vincent Kompany. So obviously we know what happened with Bayern yesterday. Last season they had Kane, and they're a behemoth of a club. But he obviously wanted that man and wasn't able to get it over the line. And Bayern Munich acted quickly this time. Obviously last season Bayern Munich, their priorities were lying elsewhere, as we know only too well, where their number one priority was. But yeah, it looks like Paulinho is off the table. But what you and I have been speaking for months, how much we think he would have been perfect for Tottenham.
He would have, but it does look like Bayern Munich are the ones that want him, and it does look like that is where he's going to go, basically, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So,
And the thing that made me laugh is I put a tweet yesterday when they said, when Last Word on Spurs spoke about Eze and how we're deeply interested, or whatever the word was, I said, stop monitoring, start buying. I'd say about 45% of the comments were, the window isn't open yet. I was like, and you can still get the deals done. They just don't become officially. So, and Bayern Munich are showing that. Obviously, people will say Werner was a free, yada, yada, yada. And a loan deal, it was easy to do. Well, Bayern Munich are starting to make moves. Other teams are starting to make moves. They just can't officially declare them as Spurs players until that window opens. But yeah, Paulinho will go to Bayern Munich, and obviously Bayern will be going full throttle in this season. Whether Company is the man to do it, we'll see. But
we will wait and see.
Yeah, but getting in the player that they desperately wanted last season, they're moving quick. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, move, move, Levy for Eze.
Well, that's the other one I'm going to go to. I mean, everybody spoke about it and everything. I mean, there's another bit of bigger business here that I've read in the market, but I'm going to leave that one for the moment. I mean, Eze, it's a 60 million buyout clause and something to do with 8 million on ifs, buts, and maybes and that. And Man U meant to be looking for him as well, but they have to sell to get him, basically. I mean, for the positions he plays in that, they've already got Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount, basically, for where he would want to play. And I don't see Bruno Fernandes wanting to leave anytime soon. Mason Mount, they only just got him last season. I don't quite think they'd be able to sell him after the season they had. Like, because he was injured for most of that season, really, wasn't he? And when he did show, he wasn't that good. And if you want to play him out on the left, who they got on the left? Rashford and Granco in it? Garnacho, that's it. See what I mean? I'm terrible with pronouncing names. So I don't see Man U as a threat here. I do see we are the ones who can. Here we are.
What I will say, when it comes to Eze, Dan, I don't know how much more we need to hear that he wants to stay in London. That's his preference. He wants to. He hasn't said, I'm only signing for a London club. He wants to. Hello, Tottenham, make a move. He's doing everything. But as much as he says he wants to move, I think Man U are in for a huge summer where Ratcliffe is going to use his financial muscle. And if Man U start bringing in real quality, and we're still sitting on our hands and not making a move, and then all of a sudden Man U go, do you know what, we signed X, Y, Z, we want you. Whether it's Ten Hag, we don't know if it's Ten Hag or if it's going to be someone else that suits as a style of play. If Man U start making big moves, or any club starts making big moves, and then Eze sees the project that's presented to him, you never know. All he has said is he wants or prefers to stay in London, which is a huge boost in the arm for us, isn't it? So I don't understand, when we've known what this deal is going to take for a little while, why we aren't. And like I said, it could be getting done behind the scenes. It could be getting done as we speak. But we know that Tottenham don't normally move in the shadows. They move in the spotlight that they create for themselves, and ITKs and Fabrizio. We'll see where it goes. But it's like Eze is literally sending out all the signals, Tottenham, come and get me. And we're monitoring, interested, discussing. We'll see where it goes. But for me, he has to be a must. He has to be a must.
I mean, it's talking about the same player over and over again, but it's the same player that just keeps coming up everywhere you read it and that. And I personally think there's a very, very, I mean, me and you were very agreeing on this yesterday on that show. And that. I think there's a very high chance this one goes through. Same as I think there's a very, very high chance that the Ivan Toney one comes on. And what it wouldn't surprise me that Spurs might do, thinking on a Levy side of right. Now, just trying to think like Levy's practically impossible anyway. But just trying to look at it from a business side, a Levy side. Right, how do I shut these little pricks up? Because that is basically how he looks at us, yeah?
Probably, yeah.
Goes and gets two players that he knows everyone would love, but keeps it quiet for a while. But the deal's done. We're all starting to go into meltdown and whatever because nothing's happened. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, bang, there you go. There's Ezzy and Tony. Shut up. That is what I could see actually happening. And then him sitting there with that smug little look on his face where you still want to take it off.
Well, the things you've got to remember as well, Dan, is Eze has a release fee. So it doesn't matter if he has a fantastic Euros or whatever, his value won't go up. It may go up as in reputation or whatever, but whatever happens, Eze is available for 60 million, I think it's 8 million add-ons or whatever. So let's say between 60, 70 mil. That price, if he has an incredible Euros, isn't going to go up by 20, 30 mil. Tony in the last year of his contract. So however long you drag it out, it's, you know what I mean, his value is only going to go down. It's not going to go up. The more and more the window goes down, the more and more his price is going to plummet. So they're not, if you look at it, technically, they're not two deals Tottenham need to rush through. The only reason they need to rush them through, or I say that they do need to rush them through it, is because of competition. If Tottenham go and drop the money for them both now, I think they both sign based on who may or may not join the party. But if we wait and he has a great Euros, Eze, let's just say it was us and a couple of other Premier League teams of whatever stature, it could be big European clubs. Even though he said he prefers a move to London, it could be other big Premier League teams. So whereas we've got the positive that Eze's value isn't going to rocket, we've got the disadvantage that the longer we leave it, the more people come to the party. Exactly. So it's a double-edged sword, and it's which one we fall on.
And it's the other way of it that Levy is not going to like it. I mean, if we offered 60 million in 4 payments, Palace don't have to accept that. They might, but they don't have to accept that. The only way that you get that working is if you slam that 60 down on the table, then that's Palace out the window. And then it's purely between you and him. That is the only point.
Yeah, I've been seeing loads of people say, I did a bit of looking into it, and they're right, is if you pay a release fee, a large chunk of it, big up international brother, a large chunk of it has to be paid up front. Whereas, you know, we're the king of installments, like a lot of teams others, but I think that would be that's the hold up, that if it was 60 million, we might have to pay a lion's share of it up front, as opposed to what the club are trying to do. For instance, like you said, 3 installments of 20. I remember when we sold Gareth Bale, it was scheduled at 20 million a year. But obviously, if it had been a release fee, I think if we'd had a release fee of 80 million, they would have had to pay a lot more of it totally and utterly up front. So that's probably the negotiations. But there are some deals, especially when you look at, we signed Ndombele for 60 million. Is Eze worth? Is Eze better than him on the pitch, not on raw talent, whatever? Hands down. Is he better than Richarlison? Hands down, for me. So we spent this money before, but spent it badly. But I don't see, in any capacity, how Eze can come in and be a flop. I just don't see. The only thing that could ruin it for him is injuries. That's the only way I can see it. There's times when you know you're bringing in a player. There's certain times you're bringing in a player that you know is just going to fit for this football club. And the way Eze plays, the positions he can play in, we saw with the dead ball that he scored against us this season. I can't see how he does not drastically improve Tottenham next season. I can't see a fault apart from injuries. So you'd hope Tottenham just say, right, this time we're going to take the plunge. He's played in the Premier League for a considerable amount of time now, has stood out pretty much every season he's played for Palace. And you put him amongst the players we've got, I can't see how this is a failure.
Yeah, I just can't really see how it can go wrong. I mean, we do know great players have moved to other clubs and gone to pieces and that, but I just do not see how this buy. I mean, if we're talking about businessmen that don't like to make gamble, don't like to lose money and whatever, for me, it's not even a gamble. It's just a sitter. Go. Come on, Levy, pull your finger out of your ass and just go and do the fucking job. Get it done. And that is all we can really say on that. I mean, we've repeated ourselves 100 times on like 10 different pages now, whatever. But it's the news that keeps coming up and up and up.
Correct. It just won't go away.
Exactly. Now, changing it a bit, on the players outside, we've actually done quite well, I think. Yeah, I mean, Dyer's gone, Perisic. We let Tanganga go for free, if I remember right, when we could have squeezed 2 million out of Millwall. Not
just squeeze 2 million or 3, whatever the fee had been. It would have been another year of wages. So that would have been if we couldn't get him out the door. So we've taken the plunge there as well. So yeah, as you're saying, the other players out exactly.
And Ndombele out. The other ones, it looks like Spence is happening, not happening sort of thing, because Genoa have now put the price down that they can't afford more than 5 million and Spurs want 8 million for him. I personally think with what I've seen, Spurs are going to just say, I'm only going by what I've seen, not by the history of Levy. Spurs are just going to say, do you know what? Give us 5 million and just fucking take him.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, from what I've been told, and from a reliable person, the actual value that has been dropped is between 6 and 8. And that has somewhat been agreed, but all they're now discussing is the percentage of the sell-on fee. Now, since then, if it's dropped down to 5, if you were going to take in the region of 6, take the 5. Take the 5 and the sell-on fee. To me, listen, you look at it, let's just say it was 6 million that we were at and it's now dropped down to 5. That £1 million deficit is one match day at Tottenham.
Basically.
That's the revenue. More than £1 million is made on a match day at White Hart Lane, or suppose the new Tottenham Stadium, whatever you want to bloody well call it. So we're not talking huge chunks of change here in the grand scheme of things. For put it this way, I think if we sign Eze, they make more than £1 million in Eze shirt sales within the first couple of weeks.
Easy.
Around the world, or at least close to that figure. So if Spurs are showing the way of getting players out the door, especially when we look at Tanguy, is haggling over 1 million for Spence to carry on the theme of we're sticking to our guns and we are clearing out and we are changing. Is that 1 million
worth
potentially? What exactly? Like Dan, I keep using the phrase you brought up, and I actually love the phrase when you said you got to take a defeat sometimes to get a victory. And to me, Spence is the absolute epitome of we're going to lose money, but to lose money, we're going to clear the decks some more. Availability to bring in another player and get this right. So I hope that we can come to some kind of arrangement with Genoa in the coming days, weeks, whatever, and get it done.
Yeah, and I think it's one that's going to happen. Now, the one that we're meant to be struggling to get rid of is actually Brian Gill. From what I've been reading this morning, there's actually meant to be a couple of clubs that are interested in him on a loan, a couple that are interested in him on a buy, obviously very lack of money. But he's actually meant to be the picky one on saying, well, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go here. I'll just sit here until someone comes in that I want. Out of all of them, he's meant to be being the pickiest one on where he wants to go. And if a player decides, do you know what, I'm just going to sit on my arse here, you can't even buy his contract out without his permission, can you? Whereas I used to think he was able to just go, there's your contract, shab on, baked potato, see you later. And you can't. They've got to accept to that as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
I didn't think he'd be such a tricky one to get rid of, personally. I thought I thought it'd be harder to get rid of Spence, someone like that. And I don't know what people are asking, what we're asking for him or whatever else, but there's meant to have been some solid issues that we've been more than willing to accept. And he said no.
Well, you look at this, Dan, and this is kind of where we've gone down with our bad buys. Brian Hill stays at Tottenham for pre-season, hardly gets any game time. When he does get it, he gets a few minutes, and he's picking up. What is Brian Hill's wages? I don't know if anyone can quickly look it up because I can't do it on my phone right now. But he'll be picking up a nice chunk of change for sitting there, and then in January, apart from this season, goes out on loan and goes back to Spain and sees his fat and does whatever. Let's face it, if we were in a cushy job, getting paid an obscene amount of money for doing, let's say, 2 hours work a day, and you're about to make your next move, and there's no team like Tottenham, let's face it, he's not going to attract a big six club. He's not going to attract a big Europe. He made, like, I think it was Feyenoord that were after him during the season. Arne Slot has now gone to Liverpool. Do you reckon Arne Slot is now saying to Liverpool, Joe, I wanted Brian Hill.
Go and get me Brian Gill.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
His levels have gone completely up. And that's where we are. Like you said, we like the deal with Tanguy. If we're getting rid of him, he's agreed to a settlement. If we were to do it at Brian Hill, he's got to agree to a settlement. The only way you can get him out without him arguing is if it's a breach of contract. If he does something and brings the club into disrepute or something, then they're like, right, you've done this, off you go. Brian Hill, well, I mean, the only place I can see him going back to is Spain, now that Arne Slot's gone to Liverpool. Spain don't really have the money. Are Spain going to be able to offer him the same wages? So, will Spurs, I mean, the only way of getting him out maybe is Spurs contribute to paying his wages or a percentage of his wages at the new club that takes him for the first year.
That is a possibility.
But yeah, I can see Brian Hill saying, you know what, why do I want to go to, let's say, a Dutch team? I mean, could you see him do what Troy Parrott did and went to that, was it Excelsior or whatever they're called,
yeah,
and struggling in the Dutch league? Or can he stay in London, train, and have the rest of it?
No.
I can see why it's been tricky.
I mean, just to point out what Rob Belcher said in there, please don't say the Eze deal can go wrong. We all know about Levy's deals and how long they take. I'm not actually one of the ones saying it can go wrong. I mean, anything can go wrong. But me and Brian are both actually sitting there. I've been on the show and done it already and actually been the positive ones on there saying that I think this is, I won't say a done deal, but I think 8 out of 10, this one's going. This one's going through. It's got everything in our favour for it. But it does all just come back to that point of, will we slam the money down?
Exactly.
So I'm not saying it can go wrong. Anything can go wrong, Rob. We all know that, mate. But this one, for me, I think this deal is actually going to happen.
I have to say, Dan, that, sorry, just very quickly, I want to say thank you to Rooty Toot, because he's just put in Hill's wages annually is over £2 million.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, and what's he saying here? We're overvaluing Royale too. Paid 25 for him. AC Milan prepared to be 18, but we're holding out at 25. Well, mate, I got some total different news on that one from like what I read this morning, from what I've been read recently. I mean, Royale, they're knocking the wages back. We're meant to be willing to accept 15 million for him, like in euros, which is about what 12.5 at a random guess. And the deal's going through because it's all over the Italian pages and that. And yeah, I don't think we're holding out at 25 million for him. And on the positive side of what we are seeing the club is doing at the moment, shipping off that deadwood, we've already taken big hits on certain players. And that is another deal, personally, I think that's going to go through. And I reckon they're getting for about 12 mil.
Joe, what it is, I think with the Emerson Royale deal, is you look at all this debt we're getting rid of. is because honestly, I don't think we can find a club for them or
14.
or get them off the wage bill. You and I discussed this, Dan. I actually think Emerson will do very, very well at Real Madrid. All right, AC Milan.
AC Milan.
And he will play in the position that he was originally bought for Tottenham. And I think
Italian football suits him.
Yeah, and that's the only reason I can see him holding out. Going, listen, you're AC Milan. You desperately need a right back. You're playing him in his preferred position. He will add value to you. I'm like you. I would take 15, 16, maybe even lower. But I don't think AC Milan will end up paying that amount.
Yeah, they haven't got that sort of money anymore.
Yeah.
Italy is one of the poorest leagues in the world when it comes to money these days. Why do you think they get so many out of contract players that are like 34 and stuff like that? I mean, you still got Sanchez playing at Inter, for God's sake.
Well, they could be coming into money because I think what's the guy, that winger? Is it Lau or however you pronounce it? The guy that played very well against us. Apparently, and this is all I'm seeing, he may be another one about to go to Saudi. So AC Milan may be coming into some money, but obviously it's when does that will happen? And are Spurs aware that they're about to come into money? And they're like, listen, we know what you're doing.
AC Milan's money is in one main player they got, and I can't remember his bloody name now.
I think it's Liao.
They're left back.
Oh, okay.
French left back.
I know it's that, but they've got that. The AC Milan player Liao. Let me have a look quickly. Check my phone. We'll check this one.
That's where their money is if they want to make money off a player. And Philly 2109 saying, not being negative, but I don't want Spurs spending the whole summer chasing Eze and forgetting to fix the other areas of the squad.
Right.
I don't think they would. I don't think they will. I honestly don't think it will this year. At the moment, from what I am seeing, I'm seeing more of a positive than negative side at the moment, and that's just by what we're getting rid of. I mean, yes, Timo Werner for me is negative, toxic all the way. But through what I'm seeing us doing at the moment, through getting rid of that deadwood, is very positive for me. So David saying, yeah, I watched Eze videos. He seems to bear players with competitiveness and physicality and mentality, not technique. Is it sustainable? How does he go if he becomes a fringe player? What's that?
They're saying that Portuguese winger from AC Milan that I'm saying, Rafael Leao, they're saying he's roughly his value at the moment, and this is just on these transfers.
I know who you're on about now, mate. Seriously, that is one of the most overrated players in Europe, in my opinion, from what I've seen in the Italian league. I know who you're on about now.
Is it on these apps, websites, whatever you want to call?
Because they put him a striker sometimes as well.
Yeah, they're saying that he's valued right now around 90 million euros. Obviously, they overinflate on a lot of things.
Yeah, but bollocks, mate. He's lucky if he's worth 30.
Oh, yeah, but no, listen, if he goes Saudi, he'll go for a huge chunk of change.
Oh, of course it will. And what David said here, I watched Eze videos. He seems to bear players with competitiveness and physicality and mentality, not technique. Is it sustainable? He does go. If he goes, he becomes a fringe player or he gets injured. He's not going to become a fringe player at Spurs. In a lot of ways, I see Eze. I mean, you all know how I feel on Kulusevski. We play him in totally the wrong position. And Kulusevski as a false 9 or a number 10 is not actually that bad. I'm not saying he's great, but I look at Eze as a bit of a rich man's, as a rich man's Kulusevski in the middle.
Yep.
Because he's sort of like Kulusevski. If you wanted him to even play as a false 9 with his back to goal and hold on to the ball, he's also got the capability of doing that as well. There's a lot of different things you can get out of that player. He's also got the capability of playing on the left wing, or if a must, cover the right wing as well. He's a very versatile player, isn't
he? He is, and I kind of get what he was saying about his attributes, but I think he's playing down his technical ability. Where he said not just. I think SE is an incredibly gifted player. He did very well during COVID for Crystal Palace, incredibly well. Was having a good okay to moving up to good season with Palace last year when he was in the squad, but then as soon as Glasner came in, like the rest of Palace, it was great. And you saw for the who was it England played? Was it Belarus that we won 3-0 before the ice? I think it was Belarus, wasn't it, that we played? I think
I
it
really
was.
don't pay no attention to the friendlies, mate.
I think
I really pay no attention at all.
I think it was Belarus. He got man of the match. I think he's a very special player. And I think with the freedom Ange would give him, he could be a major, major threat to people. It does, Simon. It does.
With what Dry Roast Peanut said here, that's the player I was on about. Their French left back, Theo Hernandez, mate. That is where their money is. He is a very, very, very good player. And someone that Paris Saint-Germain have been looking at for a little bit of time now. And we all know that Paris Saint-Germain comes money. And
yes.
Philly 2109, I agree. Leo is overrated. Mate, for me, he's so overrated. I really don't rate the player. And honestly, I really wouldn't. He's better than Werner, but that's not particularly fucking hard, is it? But I really would not want him. I just don't personally rate the player in any means or manner. I mean, for another two,
to ask is Iggy. Iggy obviously watches AC religiously.
Yeah.
So he would be asked. Ashraf, I think Eze and Morgan Gibbs White can most certainly play in the same team together. I would actually love to see it. I personally have said, and I think I can't remember if you agree with me, Morgan Gibbs White, Dan, but I actually think Gibbs White can play anywhere in that midfield three. I think he could be, not if we get him right now and say, right, you're the six. I think with training, he has all the attributes and versatility to be able to pull any of the midfield position off. I think number 10 is his best. But Eze can go
you're
anywhere.
on about Gibbs White, yeah?
Morgan, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
with him, why is he going to want to leave Forest where he's got consistent football to come to Spurs when he's going to know that he's not going to get consistent football?
Well, you look at it with Europe now and how we go, but also you look at it. Morgan Gibbs White has occasionally been selected for the England squad, not got minutes or whatever, but you know what they say about going to a bigger club to boost your chances for getting international recognition. I think, honestly, like I said, I think what gets more, or why I'm leaning very heavily with Morgan as well, is people are only looking at him as maybe playing the number 10. I honestly think he can play the 8, and I actually think he could adapt to being the 6. That's my personal opinion. Not saying it would happen. And if he knew he was going to maybe not start at 10 because that's going to be Eze, or at 8 it could be Gallagher, I think he could slot into any of the positions. And I think him knowing that at least the midfield 3 he's going to be, or I would train him for all 3 positions, I think he would get more game time than what we think. But I honestly think he's a wonderful player, and I think he could be fantastic for Tottenham. I really do.
Well, I'm just reading a bit of news that's just come up here, and it's actually stating that Tottenham handed major boost for England international Morgan Gibbs White. As Football Insider, let me scroll down because I usually just talk bollocks until the end of it. It's basically saying on here that he's not far off meant to have said that he would quite happily go. 4-point deduction as well, and Forest, where they're in bigger trouble than people actually might realise when it comes to money, have to sell him, and we would get him at a good price because they have to sell to balance their finances, as well as some dependable players for their sustainability in the league. So is that a question that could go through as well?
It could do. You got to remember with that, like we were talking about Eze and his value not going down or sorry, up because of the release fee. Forest have got to sell before the end of June. They have to, and if they can't sell anyone else or can't get anyone else off the books, I think that's why we're playing the waiting game. I saw Roosh too as well say that he can't see what people are seeing in Gibbs White. I totally get that. Listen, there's people that can't see what other people. It's the way you look at the game and what they can do. And I keep going back to. I've been following Morgan Gibbs White since his breakout season for Wolves, and he played one of his first home games was a 3-2 defeat to us, where one point gave away 2 penalties. He was probably the best player on the pitch at 17 years old. He was absolutely incredible.
I haven't seen him enough to judge him.
So I've been watching him very, very closely. Are there better players out there that can do a better job than him? Absolutely. Absolutely. Will Spurs go in to get those types of players? No.
But if we got, say, an Eze, a Tony, and like that was asked, we just use this one as an example, a Gallagher, would getting in a Morgan Gibbs White be such a
listen, if you get a Gallagher as well,
player.
If you get a Gallagher as well, it's not happening. If Gallagher comes in, Morgan Gibbs White won't get done. He'll either,
unless we get rid of Basuma.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, which I don't think we will do. If Conor Gallagher, listen, we all know, and I don't want Gallagher. The stats show why Gallagher could be a good player. I believe he does have the attributes, but there's just something about him. I don't know if it's my subconscious and whatever, just because it's the Chelsea links and he's a Chelsea boy. I don't know if it's that. I loved Conor Gallagher at Crystal Palace. I was very excited watching him. Mm-hmm. But since he's been back at Chelsea, I just haven't seen the same player. Maybe it's because the way Chelsea are playing him. But I understand why people are considering him that player. I think Morgan Gibbs White can be better. From the way I interpret the game, the way I want to see the midfield play. Who knows? Listen, Morgan Gibbs White could come. I hope he does. And this time, come January, February, whatever, I could either be sitting here going, "Told you so, everyone," and everyone say, "Well done, Brian, you were right," or "Oh my God, you were so right, I couldn't see it," or it'd go the other way, where I'll be like, "You know what? I really, really wanted him. I thought he could set the world alight for us. Hasn't happened." But I truthfully believe that Morgan Gibbs White, you've got to remember that he's playing with a calibre of people that Wolves had and Nottingham Forest had. And no matter what you think of our team and the players there, he walks into a Tottenham team, he's playing with 10 better players instantly. If he's on the starting 11, he instantly is playing with 10 better players than what he's ever played with. So you need to see what you can do around it. Like I said, if we get Gallagher, we get Gallagher, and hopefully I'm proven wrong, but I'm hoping it's the other way around, that we get Gibbs White. And people are saying, I honestly think Morgan Gibbs White could be better than him. I honestly do. That's, like, again, my opinion.
It's opinion at the end of the day.
Yeah, and we'll see how it goes. But I've been following Gibbs White very, very closely.
I can't really judge him because I've only seen him play once or twice for Forest, so I can't really judge him. And he looked all right when I saw him play, but nothing that stood out too much. And that's the only thing I can really say about him. But as long as we get those...
Sorry, Dad, just say one thing. I'll put it this way. This season, Nottingham Forest go away to Newcastle. He scores a hat-trick. And we all know Newcastle have been a good team the last couple of years. Let's look at how we've done at Newcastle the last couple of years.
Embarrassing.
Basically, we've gone there, conceded 10, scored 1. He's gone there once and scored 3. Not saying that that's the barometer of how you measure players, but when he turns it on, he can be a very, very, very good player. And I
do you rate him on the same level as Sarr?
Oh man, I would like to see Morgan, and I hate saying this, I hate using the 6, the 8, the 10, but I see him as an 8 and a 10, with the ability to possibly play a 6. I think right now he's more advanced than Sarr. I do.
Yeah.
But I rate Sarr highly as well. And do you know what? Even if people don't, I think if you put Morgan Gibbs-White in that midfield that we've got, we don't know the ones that are leaving. That instantly puts competition on the others. That's what we need as well. What you got to remember is, you and I, Dan, hate using the word backup. It's competition. Backup suggests to me, oh, if you're injured or suspended, we've got a backup for you.
I mean, it's Alex that hammered it into our heads, isn't it? And it's so true.
I know. I've said it for a while, but Alex is right. I want it to be that at Tottenham Hotspur, if you have 2 or 3 bad games, regardless of who you are, there's someone ready to take your shirt. And you're not just losing that shirt because of injury or suspension. If you don't keep up at a consistent level and you drop off, a couple of games, 3 games max, you continue like that, your jersey's gone, and it's for you to win it back. Not, oh, we're going to give you. That's how I want it to be. That everyone is on their toes in competition. And Morgan Gibbs-White, in my opinion, is serious competition, if not starting, depending on who's in and who's out.
Well, question we got here, quick. Well, sort of question is, Lee says, like, I don't understand why we are not going for Elise. Also, we can offer just as much as United. Where he's potentially going? I don't see us going out and doing. I mean, for me, he would cost more than Eze because they would want to make money back.
He's got a release fee apparently as well, 35 mil.
I didn't know that.
Apparently, he's got a £35 million release fee.
Then you could even talk about just slamming the whole 100 million on the table and saying, there you go. But we know that one won't happen.
Yeah.
But he's meant, if I remember right, he's already meant to have said something about that he wanted to go, that he would want to go Man U.
Yeah, this is I can't remember if Elise was, obviously he's been here a while now. He's not English as in he can't, but he's got French. I can't remember what actual national teams he. I can't remember if he was actually born in this country, raised in this country, like as a.
He's basically on the French list, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's. I don't know if he has such close ties to London, and all my family is settled here. I don't know where his family lives, as in the extended grandparents, parents, whatever. So if they're not all based in London, I wouldn't say that Elise has the same kind of want to stay in London. Eze, born in London, raised in London. I can understand why he would prefer to stay in London because of all the ties and connections. But with Elise, listen, I think he's a great player. And this season he was immense. But I think
he was good this year.
He looked very good. But to tell you the truth, I know Eze and Elise both have suffered with injuries. But I think Elise's have been more serious and have kept him out for longer. So that if I had the choice of the two, I'm still sticking with Eze. Just because I have really, really liked that guy. I said last season I wanted him over Madison.
He's perfect for what we need.
Yeah, exactly. So is Elise, in all honesty. But I would still stand by what it is. There's no way we're doing a double raid. No way.
No,
it would be amazing if we did.
Of course,
it would be absolutely amazing if we did.
It's not a very Tottenham thing. I mean, there's two others I'm going to bring up here quick before I end this. Then there's another one.
Sorry, Dad, just to wrap that. Deshaun Skies has just said as well, homegrown. Eze falls into homegrown. Elise doesn't. So that's another topic or another thing to say why maybe
because
not.
Because that is the only reason I could see us keeping Oliver Skip.
Yeah.
just being that little homegrown player there for us, where you need, is it 8 or 9 of them? I think
Something
it's
like
8
that.
you
I
need.
can't remember the exact number,
Yeah.
but you're not far off. I think it might be 8, Dan. I think you're right with 8.
I mean, there's one that we're meant to be taking a close look at to take Romero, Royale's place, and that is Vanderson from Monaco. I think he's got one or two times he's played for Italy. I think he's got 2 caps, if I remember right. And the price is only meant to be about 12 million and 23 Monaco. I mean, for me, if we need to get in those players to fill up the squad as well, because you do have to fill up that squad. I understand that. But the main thing we want is people who walk into that squad straight away before we get the squad as such. Because you do need a squad. I can't say I know much about the player. He's meant to have been pretty good at Monaco, and the French ones do seem to come over here. Like anyone who's played in France does seem to like come over here a lot of the time, and more of them do good than bad, I would say. I don't think he can be any worse than Royale is. So if that's one thing we're looking at, that's one thing we're looking at. Do you know anything of him?
I didn't know he even existed or walked on this planet till yesterday. If I'm honest, we did a show yesterday on Tottenham on Tour, and Dave brought up his attributes. His attributes actually did look exciting from his strengths and weaknesses and the type of player he is. A few people in the comments were saying that he would be a very, very good option, but I can't personally say, yeah, I really want him, or yeah, he'd be great.
Yeah, same.
Because like I said, up until 2 p.m. yesterday my time, 7 p.m. your time, I didn't even know this man existed.
Exactly. But you never hear really much out of the French league anyway until the end of the season, where all of a sudden these little players start popping up, do you? It's
exactly.
And
I will say, Monaco, if he's at Monaco, they by hell do they? I mean, it's where Man City's Silva came from. Obviously, we know Mbappe and all that. Monaco do have a good record of churning out talent and players going on to do well.
Like a Dortmund thing.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So it kind of is. Obviously, if you go to Paris, it's going to take serious money to get the players out, because obviously they're never in any need for it. And Monaco are a team that seem to do it and find these players and obviously then sell them on for profit or whatever it may be. So when I hear a Monaco player is available, it's always worth doing a bit of research and checking. And like I said, the attributes that Dave brought up yesterday on the show did seem very encouraging, but like I said, not seen a second of him playing football.
Yeah, and the only way you can do really is check it up on YouTube, and I could make a video of me and you looking good at football on YouTube. That is how easy it is to make a video. Right, last one I'm going to bring up here. People are going to say this one sounds absolutely crazy, because when I read it this morning, I was like, what the actual... City don't seem to want Jack Grealish anymore.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds crazy, but you got to bring it up. It's in with the rest of it.
Yeah.
It's saying that obviously Aston Villa are interested in having him back, but Spurs are interested in going for him as well. Jack Grealish. I mean, we could have got him for 20 bloody mil if someone would have pulled his finger at his arsehole, but that's all been done and dusted. But they're meant to actually be pretty serious on getting rid of him because of people they want to bring in, and even Man City have to be seen stabilising it, don't they? Because they're another club that relies on the money of what they win. Tottenham are one of the very few clubs in the world that don't even need to sell players, because we can stabilise ourselves just on that bloody stadium, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Jack Grealish. I mean, for me, that's just just words. That is not gonna happen. But
what I'll say with Jack Grealish, Stan, is, and this is what Man City do. Do you remember when they bought Haaland? They sold Jesus and Zinchenko to Arsenal. They will sell their players. If they want to get rid of a player, they won't say, "Oh, we'll give them another season or 2 seasons or whatever." They'll get them out. they'll get him out to help finance the next bigger deal that they see down the line, whoever it may be. We should have got Jack Grealish the first time, but like I said, the reasons everyone knows, and we're not going down there. I personally think if he is up for sale, I think if Villa come in for him, he'll go Villa no matter what. I think he'll go home. He is that kind of lad. I can't see if it's us and Villa, he'll pick Villa, and they'll have Champions League football.
Yes, but one thing with Villa. Go on, finish what you're saying.
No, I was just about to say, I as much as I love him, I'm more disappointed he's not in the England team than I am Maddison.
Maddison shouldn't have even been in that 26, 28 or whatever.
Exactly, Dan. But that's how you and I feel, and other Spurs fans who I understand why a lot of people wanted him and were saying, yeah, he's got to be in it because he's Spurs. And I understand fans that are like that. But you look at it on form, since he's come back from the injury, he does not warrant a place on that plane.
He's been flop of the season, hasn't he, for us? I personally think he has been our biggest flop from his first 10 games.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, the fact that, as you know, and I'll keep mentioning it, Wayne Holland, very good friend of mine, Leicester fan, came onto all these streams in the chat and said over and over again that when he's on fire, he's unplayable. But then when it drops off or he gets injured, it will take him a very long time to get to those heights. He was right.
Looks that way.
Yeah, I can't listen as much. Would I want to see Jack Grealish at Spurs? Depending on our other activity. Like if you said to me Grealish or Eze, if you said to me Morgan Gibbs White or Grealish, I'm choosing Morgan Gibbs White. But that's because I'm a huge fan of him. Do I think Jack Grealish could do a job at Tottenham Hotspur? Absolutely.
Sure, he couldn't.
But I honestly think if these rumours are true and City are prepared to let him go, I see Villa snapping that up, and I see him saying, "I'm coming home." I don't think it matters who goes in for him. If Villa can put the deal together with Man
Where
City,
his heart is.
Yeah, he will go home.
Because Villa are meant to be one of the ones, though. They're in the mark where they're a bit stuck up with the money, basically. Because this is what a lot of people don't seem to understand. Yeah. Look at Newcastle, you look at Villa, two very rich clubs there. Yeah.
Yep.
Probably got more money to throw about than we have. But they can't. And the only way Newcastle ever got a chance of getting big is by winning things and getting the money through winning things. And that's exactly the same for Villa. Because the further up north you go, whether it sounds offensive, whether it sounds whatever, it's a fact. The poorer it gets. The money is down south. The money is in London. And that's where it is. That is why Fulham can charge higher ticket prices than bloody Liverpool and Man U. Liverpool, sorry. And Villa are meant to be one of the ones on the borderline with their money as such, because they make a poor income over games, whatever else and that, and ticket sales and everything else, because they are up north. And they're meant to be part of the lot, along with Forest, Chelsea, Newcastle, and there was a few other teams in now that are right on that line that might have to sell a couple. But they did just get Champions League, didn't they? I mean,
yep.
So
Dan, what you've got to remember with this, like we were just talking about Man City, how they're willing to show people the door. Like there's talk of Alvarez as well. If they need to balance the books that way and get rid of their big fish, or sorry, Man City, I wouldn't say Grealish, Alvarez are the big fish, but they will get big. They will get rid of people that will command a fee, so then they can go on to do what they need to do. There's already talk of Aston Villa selling Douglas Luiz.
That's it. That's one I was going to bring up. Yeah.
If Villa are like, right, we can get Jack Grealish back, how are we going to go about this? They could say, right, I know we've got PSR, but if we sell this guy, that clears the debt or clears and leaves funds available, and we can bring him home. Exactly. Not saying that they need to sell 3 to bring one in, because I don't know how far they're on the line. But if they really, really want Jack Grealish, and they think Jack Grealish takes them to the next level where they're currently not, but to do that, they need to get rid of X, Y, and Z, or X and Y. Then they'll do that.
They can do it.
Exactly. Then there's way. You know, that's the thing with the PSR. People got to remember, they've just got to bring their value down to a certain level, and then they can spend again. Yeah. It's not that. That's the thing, and you got to remember. Like I said, this is where we are with like more. You look at Notts Forest, like you said, and I heard you talking about him before I come on. If you start looking at all these teams, and obviously Spurs have said they're going to look at these teams, I would say if you look at Nottingham Forest, Morgan Gibbs-White is a crown jewel to Nottingham Forest. He's like one of, if you look at Notts Forest and the players are available, he'll be up there in the crown jewels. But then you've got teams like Tottenham that are getting constant. We are linked with him, but then you hear Hudson-Odoi. They said that if they sell Hudson-Odoi, they're going to need to sell 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of those. They sell a crown jewel or two. They're back in the game and flush with cash and can spend again.
Their level, yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. That's the business side of the football, isn't it?
Exactly. Basically. Exactly.
I mean, for me, Jack Grealish, yeah, love him at Spurs. I think he's a good player. I just think at City, I don't think they played into his potential again, sort of thing. But yeah, do I see that one happening? No, I don't. So, been on for 2 hours, and the wife is now back home, so I have to leave my kitchen. And Brian, thanks for coming on, mate. And where do we find you?
You'll find me with Johnny from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. roughly UK time for an hour of evening's brew. It could be a little bit longer, but we shall see what develops during the day in Tottenham land. So evening brews will be back 6 till 7 UK time every day this week. And let's hope we have some good news to be speaking about, as opposed to, will this deal get done? Is it getting done? We're monitoring, we're watching. But yeah, you'll see me at 6 p.m. UK time on Tottenham Tour. And thanks for having me on again, Dan, buddy.
Always a pleasure, mate. I mean, one thing that I personally do believe that you and me, I mean, I've been fair few chats for you lately and whatever and that.
Yep.
I personally think we've actually been quite positive, considering we're all so negative all the time, because there's now something positive to look at. And what did I always say to people? You want respect, you earn respect. You want positive, give me something to be fucking positive about. At the moment, at the looks, purely the looks, there is something to be positive about. But now we get to that point where actions speak louder than words, as far as I'm concerned. So, if everyone jumps onto Brian's page of link up, sign up to it. What's it called again? Tottenham on Tour. Tottenham on Tour, that's the one. And give us a quick like and subscribe. I don't ask very often. It'd be appreciated. Now managed to get up to 3,110. I think I've managed to get onto. So looking at getting at 3,500. Thanks for everyone watching this morning. Hope you have a good day. It looks like it's about to piss down out there, so it's not going to be a good one here. And as always,
Levy out.
See you later, people.
I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. Turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down.